Hey there, wonderful matrix. Welcome to Educate. Let us do this KZN June 2024 Kamageva ngesingisi paper on meiosis. 2.2 says the diagram below shows the same cell at different phases of meiosis. It is very crucial for you to be able to know how to identify which phase you are in meiosis. So here, let us just look at the first diagram. You can see that we have got a couple of labels. For now, probably we don't need to know the phase so that we can answer 2.2.1. It says identify part B. You can see that part B is just a dotted line that connects to a chromosome. And remember, these threads that actually attach to a chromosomes, they're known as the spindle fibers. So we can just say part B is the spindle fibers. Okay, so no much big deal about that. And then now it says identify the phase of meiosis shown in diagram 2. You can see that in diagram 2, what is happening here, you have got chromosomes, and these chromosomes are kind of crossing over. You can see the chromosomes are next to each other. Some of them you can see they are overlapping here at some point. Chromosomes are overlapping. Once chromosomes are close to each other, or they are like pinning each other in this sense, you already know that crossing over is taking place. And crossing over only takes place during prophase 1 of meiosis 1. Okay, so it's the first meiotic division and it is prophase 1. If they say give the evidences, you can say a crossing over is taking place. Another evidence that you can point out here is that the spindle fibers are beginning to form. You can see here you've got spindle fibers that are beginning to form. Or you can say that you are able to see visible chromosomes. Okay, the fact that they are visible chromosomes, it shows you that this is prophase 1 of meiosis 1. And then now 2.2.2, state one function of part A. You can see that part A is just this dot where the spindle fibers are arising from. First of all, what is part A? To label part A precisely, it is known as the centriole. Remember, the centriole, it is this part whereby spindle fibers arise from it, because you can see that these threads that are attaching to the chromosomes, these spindle fibers attaching to the chromosomes, they are attached, or they're actually rising, or they are coming from the centriole. So the centriole is just found here. It's just a dot here. And its main function, it is to form spindle fibers. So we can say that the function of part A, it is to form spindle fibers. Okay, so this is to form spindle fibers. By the way, I've covered all this content using my YouTube videos, so you can check them out so that you can get a clearer understanding. And then now they say what state one of the one function of part C. You can see that part C here, it is a part in between chromosomes. It's more like something like this. You have got two chromatids, and part C is somewhere in between, and it's like a button, or it's like just a round thing. So basically that round thing is known as the centromere. So basically to identify part C, we say it is the centromere. So the centromere, it is found in between two sister chromatids, or you can say two daughter chromatids. So these daughter chromatids, or these sister chromatids, they are attached by this centromere. So that's its main function. Basically it is to attach, or it is to combine. So basically it is to attach two sister chromatids. Okay, the best way to use is sister chromatids, because when you say that they are sister chromatids, it just means that these are two chromatids and they are attached by a centromere to form a chromosome. Okay, specifically we say it's known as a replicated chromosome. So basically here, this is a chromatid, this is also a chromatid, they are attached by the centromere. That's its main function. Now, these questions are very important for you, and they're very crucial. 2.2.3 says tabulate. The instruction says tabulate, so you are supposed to draw a table. There is a mark for drawing a table. Whenever they say tabulate, you must draw a table. If you don't draw a table, you are violating the instruction, and you are most likely not to get the marks. Yes, you won't get the marks. Let me just be frank and quite honest with you. So basically, when they say tabulate, it means you have to draw a table. Okay, draw a table. You can even draw it using your own hand. Let's just say, for example, you forgot your ruler, or maybe most of you don't have rulers, of course. You guys probably don't care to have rulers. So basically here, you draw a table. and then now you split the things that you are comparing. All right. Before you start attempting to hear what the question wants of you, you draw the table. Okay, that's already a mark. So we already have 1 mark just for drawing the table before answering the question. Now let us understand what is the question wanting from us. It says tabulate 2 differences between the phase shown in diagram 1. So you must be able to be able to identify the phase in diagram 1. If you look carefully at diagram 1, it is showing a phase whereby we have got spindle fibers, and then there's something happening here. You can see that we have got spindle fibers here, and they are attached to chromosomes already. So the spindle fibers are attached to chromosomes through the centromeres. You can see that here spindle fibers are attached, and you can see that these chromosomes have been separated, all right? Or these chromosomes, you can see that they are being separated. Remember, the only way to see the phase is to look carefully at the chromosomes, the state of the chromosomes. If the chromosomes are closer to one another, or if they are lying at the center of the cell, we would say that is metaphase. All of them will be lying on top of each other at the center of the cell, or at the equator of the cell. But now the fact that the chromosomes have moved further away to opposite sides from the center of the cell, or from the equator of the cell, we can say that anaphase is happening. But which anaphase is happening in diagram 1? It is anaphase 1. Why is it anaphase 1? Because you can see that here what has been separated, it is homologous chromosomes. All right, if you look carefully here, you can see that these 2 chromosomes were actually lying together. So these 2 chromosomes were lying together at the center of the cell, or here at the equator of the cell. And then since they were pulled by spindle fibers to opposite sides of the cell, or to opposite poles, now they are separated. So when we separate homologous chromosomes, we say that is going to be anaphase 1. So you already know that here we are looking for a difference between anaphase 1 and something. So the first thing that we have here is anaphase 1. That's what we are comparing. Compared to what? They say between the phase shown in diagram 1, which is anaphase 1, and the same phase in meiosis 2. Remember, we've got 2 meiotic divisions. The first meiotic division whereby the cell is dividing for the first time, and the second meiotic division whereby the second cells are now dividing to form haploid gametes. So basically here, they say we need to compare the anaphase 1, which is diagram 1, to the same phase in meiosis 2. So we need to compare it to the same phase. The same phase will be anaphase, but now it will be in meiosis 2, as the instruction says. So now we are comparing this to anaphase 2. So we know that they are quite common, because this is basically the same phase, because we have got something being separated from something. All right, but basically remember the difference here. During anaphase 1, we are separating homologous chromosomes. As I've already said, that this chromosome and these chromosomes were lying together at the equator. They are homologous. You can even see that they had crossed over. The way that they are colored, it shows that they had crossed over. So basically, those are homologous chromosomes that are being separated during anaphase 1, or during diagram 1, according to this question. But during anaphase 2, we need to remember that we do not separate chromosomes, but we separate chromatids. All right, we separate what? Chromatids. So basically here, in anaphase 1, we know that we are separating homologous chromosomes from each other. So they are being pulled to opposite poles. So we can say in anaphase 1, homologous chromosome. You have to say that these chromosomes are homologous. They have the same shape, same size. Okay, so these are homologous chromosomes. Homologous chromosomes are being pulled to opposite sides of the cell, or they are being pulled to opposite poles. So they are being pulled towards opposite poles. But as for anaphase 2, we know that we are not actually pulling homologous chromosomes from each other. We are pulling a chromosome. We are splitting it. All right. So basically, you have got what? You have got 1 chromosome, and it is lying on the equator during anaphase 2. And then the spindle fibers attach here on one side of the centromere, and another spindle fiber on top, and basically it will pull off these two chromatids and separate them from one another, and then it will end up having something like this: one chromatid on top and then another chromatid at the bottom. So basically during anaphase 2, the difference is that only chromatids, okay, these are no longer homologous chromosomes that are being separated. We are separating chromatids. So chromatids are pulled to opposite poles. Here the chromatids are pulled towards opposite poles. You can use your fancy English now, but basically whatever that is. So that is one difference between them. Each and every difference has got a mark. This is 1 mark, and then this is 1 mark as well. So I've already 3 marks just by mentioning one difference and tabulating. The question said tabulate grade 12. So the moment you don't write a table, it means that you are not going to get the marks. Okay, that's just clear and straightforward. All right, so that's one difference. Another difference here, you can look at the anaphase 1. Remember that during anaphase 1, we are separating homologous chromosomes. I repeat again, you have got one chromosome, it is homologous to another chromosome, okay, of the same shape, same size, and they're lying at the equator during metaphase 1, right? When it reaches anaphase 1, what will happen? They will be just pulled to opposite poles and they will just move independently. One will go up, one will go down. But in the case of anaphase 2, remember, we are splitting, that's the keyword, we are splitting one chromosome, or we are separating one chromosome into its parts, or into its chromatids, into sister chromatids, as I've already demonstrated here to say that one chromosome, it is being splitted. So here, for that to happen, the centromere must split in anaphase 2. So for us to be able to separate two chromatids, the centromere must split. But in anaphase 1, we don't really need to split any centromere. It's all a matter about pulling one chromosome up to the upper pole and pulling another chromosome to the pole that is below. Okay, so basically the difference here is that the centromere doesn't split. So here in anaphase 1, the centromere doesn't have to split. So centromere does not split, or it doesn't need to split. So it doesn't need to split, because basically the chromosomes are just being, a whole chromosome is being pulled to the other pole, right? A whole chromosome. But as of anaphase 2, we know that one chromosome is being splitted into two parts, which is the chromatids. And for that to happen, we need to break this part that is combining them, which is the centromere, or we need to split it. So here, for the anaphase 1, the centromere, it splits. So the centromere splits. And then there you have it. So this is another 1, this is another 2 marks. So we have got 5 marks in total. So at least mention 2 differences. You can note a couple of other differences between these 2 phases, but these ones are the easiest one to catch, especially for your exams. So when they say tabulate, make sure that you draw a table before you answer the question, right? If you don't draw the table, you lose the mark. Now 2.2.4, this is where you need to answer carefully as well. So 2.2.4 asks, explain the effect of the abnormal meiosis process indicated by D if it occurred in chromosome pair number 21 in humans. So what is happening at D? So let's just clear this so that we can see properly. What is happening at point D? So at point D in diagram 1, you can note that here these 2 chromatids are stuck with each other. Remember, we said diagram 1, it is anaphase 2. We were supposed to separate homologous chromosomes, and they were supposed to move to opposite poles or opposite sides of the cell. But now, because you can see that here, these 2 are stuck together. This spindle fiber is not attached to anything. Because remember that these spindle fibers that are on top, they must be attached to the 3 chromosomes that will be taken up, and then these spindle fibers that are at the bottom, they must be attached to the chromosomes that must be taken to the downer pole, to the pole that is, that it must be taken down, or that it must be pulled down by the spindle fibers. So you can note that at diagram D, basically, what is happening there here? It's an abnormal meiosis case whereby the chromosomes are failing to separate. We say it is known as non-disjunction. Before you explain the effect, please tell us, what are you explaining? You are explaining non-disjunction. I'm not guaranteeing that this is going to be a mark for you, but basically it can possibly give you a mark because here is a hidden process. You have to mention at least if you know it. So this is non-disjunction. So now, non-disjunction, how do you explain it in this case? What is its effect of this abnormal meiosis indicated by D, which is what is the effect of non-disjunction if it had occurred in chromosome pair number 21 in humans? Remember that in humans, when non-disjunction occurs at pair number 21, basically the gamete that will be formed will have an extra chromosome, or it will have an extra pair of chromosome, extra pair number 21. So we can say that the gamete that will be formed at the end of this meiosis, gamete will have an extra chromosome, or you can say it will have 24 chromosomes. Remember, each gamete must have 23 chromosomes. A normal gamete of a human being must have 23 chromosomes. But here, because there's been non-disjunction, it means it's possible that this gamete that will be formed here will have an extra chromosome, because this chromosome, it was supposed to go up, it was supposed to be pulled up by this spindle fiber here. Siyalenga manje le spindle fiber. So basically that spindle fiber on top, it was supposed to pull that chromosome up, but the chromosome got stuck. It got stuck, okay, and then it went down with its homologous chromosome. So basically, I've made a video explaining abnormal meiosis. Check it out if you don't have a cool understanding on this one. So the gamete will have 24 chromosomes, or you can say the gamete will have an extra chromosomes. This is only for human beings, because human beings, they must have 23. It only applies to us as human beings. All right, and then now that the gamete has got 24 chromosomes, what will happen when it fertilizes with a normal gamete? So when it fertilizes, with a normal gamete, okay, you add with the with. So when it fertilizes a normal gamete, what will happen when it meets a normal gamete and then they fertilize? Because remember that here meiosis, it is basically going to produce gametes, the ones that will be used to make babies. So basically, what will happen? So when it fertilizes a normal gamete, what will happen? The zygote that will be made there, this will result in a zygote, okay? It will result in a zygote with 47 chromosomes. So a zygote with 47 chromosomes. All right. But remember that this is in humans. What condition do we have when the zygote has got 47 chromosomes? Okay, or maybe when it has got an extra chromosome on pair number 21, this will cause Down syndrome. You now talk something about Down syndrome. Remember, this is 4 marks. At least try to give 4 points that are relevant. Okay, so basically, you can answer this in another way. You can say that the gamete will have an extra chromosome on pair number 21, because here, remember, they say that on pair number 21, you must be specific on the numbers. If you're just going to say the gametes will have an extra chromosomes, it'll be like you are just talking about any normal gamete going through this abnormal meiosis. But here we're talking about a human gamete. So you need to mention that on pair number 21, the gamete will have an extra chromosome. And then when it fertilizes a normal gamete, or the gamete with 23 chromosomes, this will result in a zygote with 47 chromosomes. Or you can say that this will result in a zygote with an extra pair, or okay, it will result with an extra chromosome on pair number 21. Or you can just say that the zygote will have 3 copies of pair number 21. But I think the simplest one is to just say that the zygote will have 47 chromosomes. And then this condition whereby the zygote has got 47 chromosomes and then having 3 chromosomes on pair number 21 is known as Down syndrome. You get all the marks. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching this video.